all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days. The game of clubs and tees had never crossed my mind. But after some discussion with my closest, dearest friends, I decided that...
Welcome in to another episode of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. My name is Andrew Putters, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Joe Nicely. It's a big week for us, ladies and gentlemen. First, we're going to hear from Joe, senior editor of the golf department over at Rotoballer.com. Rotoballer's got a special deal in store for new customers this week only. Hit it up, Joe.
Yeah, man. I've been begging the bosses over at Rotoballer to do a Masters promo, and they listen. You can go over right now, access our PGA Premium for $9.99 this week. That's the Masters. You get this week's access to all of our premium tools. You can use promo code NICE, N-I-C-E, to take it down to $8.99 for this week. So we definitely urge you guys to go over there and check it out. We got amazing tools over there, a research station. Spencer and Josh and myself will be dropping articles all week. So we strongly urge you to check that out and hope you will. Huge week for PGA DFS this week.
Absolutely. So real quick, let's recap the Vivint Houston Open. Carlos Ortiz took it down 13 under. So I haven't got confirmation if his caddy raked the bunker on 18 at Harbortown or not. No, congratulations, Carlos Ortiz. I felt like we were kind of 50-50 on right and wrong last week on stuff we got right and wrong. Undoubtedly, though, it was definitely a stars and scrubs week. A bunch of the high-priced guys were right there at the top of the leaderboard come Sunday. And back into top fives in that tournament. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and move on, Joe. That's old news. This is what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. The culmination of the fall swing, first ever unprecedented times. Masters week in November. Played at Augusta National. This course needs no introduction, but I'll give it a little bit. Augusta National, designed by the late Bobby Jones and Dr. Alistair McKenzie. And it is known as the homage to the old course of St. Andrews. It was designed in 1933, a very special golf course for the golf community. Par 72, 74-75 unofficial yardage setup. That will vary every day, as we know, throughout. Tons of tournament history on this for players, anybody using those tools, because it's basically been played here since about 35, I think. It's the first year that they played this, when it started out as a tournament amongst friends that Bobby Jones hosted at the Augusta National. Very historic tournament. Any golf fan knows that. So I don't really even know where to start. I mean, this place is so good. This tournament's so big in golf. There's really nowhere to start. We could talk about players. We could do a whole episode on 3 or 4 holes. So let's start out first, Joe. What about the Masters is your favorite thing?
Yeah, man. Like you said, it's almost too big to get your arms around, right? I mean, there's so many things we can talk about. We can talk about the course. We can talk about the field. We can talk about the time of year it's being held. But my favorite thing, to answer your question, Andrew, is the tradition. It really is a tradition unlike any other. It's kind of the traditional start of spring, which that's not the case this year. We're seeing a situation we've never seen before. But just all the tradition that goes into it, man, getting together with friends. It's normally time you start breaking the golf clubs out after cold weather. But just the layout, the way things are down there, it's just a little bit different than anywhere else. And the course, man, is just fabulous. It's withstood the test of time. Always provides a really exciting finish, and there's just nothing better than a Sunday at the Masters. And hopefully we can see that again this year, man. Really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You know, golf kind of winds down around Labor Day, and really, as far as a fan goes, we don't talk much golf under normal circumstances. You know, maybe late February, we start looking, you know, when they hit up Torrey Pines and play Riviera, we kind of start looking into it a little bit. They play Pebble Beach and kind of get you a little fired up. And then that first weekend in March where it breaks 65 degrees outside and everybody, like you said, dusts the clubs off. And then, you know, boom, the Masters hits, golf clubs are double the price on eBay. You can't find golf balls anywhere in the stores. That's just the way it goes. And really, to me, the golf, it starts there and it goes all the way through, probably Father's Day, July 4th week is the golf window, in my opinion, for fandom goes. And you're right, this is the great kickstart normally under normal circumstances. For me, my favorite thing about Augusta is the coverage. And what I mean by that is 100% for the fans. There's not a time where it's not about the fans. So, going as far back as whenever they took out commercials for a period of time, which I think now the commercials are very limited. It starts as far as the fandom goes. It was the first event really where you could go on your laptop and watch two groups all day long and, 3 or 4 holes all day long. They have cameras set up and it's almost like there's three or four parts of the coverage that you could watch at any time. And that was the first time, first tournament that ever did that for golf. And that's why we know so much about this golf course too. So that's my favorite. And also, it brings in different stuff, the par 3 tournament, on Wednesday night, the drive, chip, and putt on Sunday night. So it's just a cool thing. Everything about it. Who doesn't? If this is golf, it ain't gonna get any better than this.
Yeah, man, this is it. I wrote in one of my articles this week that's already went up, the horse for the course, that it's like if you're a golf fan, man, this is like the Super Bowl and Christmas Day all wrapped into one. and that's the way we always feel. It's a little bit different this year because it's November, but still, man, just the best golf tournament in the world, in my opinion. So really looking forward to it this week.
Absolutely. So, Joe, have you been reading anything about I thought we were going to see cold conditions, but it looks like it's going to be perfect. Mid 60s or late low 70s come weekend, maybe just a hair of rain here and there spots. So saying that, have you read anything about how maybe the course is going to play a little different?
What I'm seeing, I'm kind of like you. When this was first announced, kind of expecting cold weather, honestly, and for the course to probably play a lot tougher than normal. But we're in Knoxville. We're in East Tennessee, a few hours north of Augusta, and it's been unseasonably warm here. I played golf yesterday in a short sleeve shirt and shorts in November, and that's the weather in Augusta as well, just really unseasonably warm. And I think it's going to be a little bit wet. I think we might see some rain, like you mentioned. So I look for the course to play long, man. I was kind of thinking fast and firm initially, several months ago, and tough. But now I'm kind of thinking it's going to play soft and it's going to play long. I don't think we're going to see a lot of rollout if that's the case, if it is playing soft. But yeah, man, I don't think the weather, as far as being cold, is going to be a big issue, just based on what we're seeing and the weather we have here.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I was expecting maybe another situation whenever Zach Johnson won. Remember he shot like 1 under when it was like 45 degrees and windy and raining.
Yeah.
I wasn't hoping for a weekend like that, but I was kind of thinking that's what we were going to get initially. I mean, heck, 10 days ago it was like 30 degrees in Knoxville.
Right.
So
yeah, and from what I've seen, I saw Ian Poulter posted a little short video on Twitter the other day, and man, it looked just as green as it does in April. And from what I'm hearing, it's in fabulous condition. But I mean, we know that Augusta National is not going to do anything less than excellent. So from everything we're hearing, it's in fabulous condition. Everything's green. It's going to look real similar to what we see in April as far as the actual course. Maybe not some of the kind of the beautiful landscaping around it might be a little bit different, but yeah, man, I think it's going to play fairly normal. With maybe the dampness coming into play if it's playing soft. The longer hitters are going to have a little bit of advantage because of the lack of rollout.
Yeah, and I mean, we got to think the longer hitters might have a little bit more of advantage here every year.
Yeah, for sure. They always do. I've been on Twitter just a little bit today. We're doing this on Monday, and my first article of the week went up today. And within 5 minutes, I had two guys ask me why Bryson wasn't in the article. So he's really provoking some strong feelings among people, and I think he's kind of the big topic of conversation going into this, with what he did at the U.S. Open and with his length and kind of all the hijinks surrounding that, him going to the longer driver. He hadn't played for a month, so that kind of adds to the mystery of it a little bit. But yeah, man, I think length, it's always been an advantage here. We know that. Jack Nicklaus was the longest driver of the ball back in his day. Same can be said for Tiger Woods. Greg Norman always competed here. He was super long. Bubba Watson. I mean, the list goes on and on. Obviously, we've seen shorter hitters win here. It's certainly possible, but I think length's an advantage. I think it always has been.
Yeah. One thing that's great about this golf course and not a lot of people know about or not a lot of people talk about is that the approach shots into the green are so razor thin on Sunday as far as on the last, I would say probably 7 out of the last 9-10 holes. Yeah, 7 out of the last 10 holes under normal pin position placements on Sunday. You could hit the ball in a certain spot and it's going to end up right next to the hole. And they do that on purpose, where basically a guy can struggle to shoot par on the back nine, or if he gets hot with his irons and his putter, he can shoot 6-7 under. And they want that. Obviously, they want the big roars. They obviously want the 1986 Masters where he come down from 6 back with 10 holes to go. Those kinds of things.
Right.
And that's what we love. I mean.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Which we'll dig into it as we start getting into these guys. But there's just so many little nuances and subtleties that this golf course throws at guys, and it's one of the reasons why I weight course history so heavily here, as much or more than any other golf course we see throughout the year, because there are so many little nuances, so many little subtleties. Like you said, a lot of it's about position. Both off the tee and where to hit it on the green. A lot of it's getting used to these lies that you have. Obviously, there's unbelievable undulation there. You're forced to hit shots from lies that might not necessarily make that an easy shot. You're trying to hit a high fade from a downhill hook lie. And only a few guys can do that consistently, especially under the pressure of a major championship. So there's just so many little things about this golf course that you really have to play it 2, 3, 4 times in a lot of cases to pick up on and kind of get the hang of and know what you're supposed to do and feel comfortable doing it under all that pressure. So yeah, man, it's just an interesting, endlessly interesting tournament. Like you said, so many different things we could talk about, but exciting to get into the DFS slate, man.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to start out DFS, DraftKings, top 3 guys, Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, John Rahm. Arguably have had the 3 best players since the restart. You might want to be able to throw maybe Dustin Johnson in there too. But let's just say those 3 because they're at the top. And I stopped there for a reason. But where are you on these 3?
Well, I think as we were talking, as we touched on, I think this whole Masters kind of revolves around what you're going to do with Bryson. Even though he's not ridiculously priced, he's not, out of sight higher than the others. I still think you're going to be your most important decision on the slate, because he does have a chance to be so dominant when things are going well. So I think that's your first and probably biggest decision to make this week. I think he has a great chance to win. I by no means think he's a lock to win. I think there's a lot more that goes into this golf tournament than distance, even though it is a huge advantage. And if he's able to hit his irons and his short game's going, anywhere close to where it was at Winged Foot, he's got an excellent chance to win. Obviously, he's first in the field in driving distance, first in the field strokes gained off the tee, which we know are very important here. Kind of middle of the pack, though, in his approach play. We've seen it come and go. When he's hitting his irons and wedges well, and he'll be hitting a lot of wedges this week, by the way. He'll be hitting a lot of wedges on par fours. He'll be hitting a lot of mid to short irons on par fives. So just a huge advantage. I'm not going to be going all in. I'm certainly not fading him either. That's probably not the take that people want to hear. It seems like people kind of go to extremes when talking about Bryson. They're either all in or all out. But I'm neither. I think he has a chance to play really well, but I'm by no means think he's a lock. We'll touch on the other guys, but what do you think about Bryson? I feel like a lot of people want to get thoughts on Bryson. So what are your thoughts on him, man, before we kind of dig into these other guys?
So I'm kind of torn on Bryson. I'll tell you why. For me, it's not just the numbers. I mean, the numbers do matter, and this is going to sound a little bit dumb, I think, coming from a strategist standpoint. But it's hard for me to like a guy, like him. And in saying that, it's hard to like him. It's hard to want to cheer for him. I don't know. It's hard to.
That's what I was going to say. When you say it's hard for you to like him, are you talking about as a fan personally, or are you talking about as a DFS play?
Both.
Okay.
If I can't like him to an extent, I can't cheer for him. If that makes any sense at all.
I got you.
Now maybe if he went back to whenever he was duck hooking balls on the driving range and went down to one knee and started crying and being humble again, maybe I could like him a little more. But
yeah, man, I get where you're coming from. I think that, and I think a lot of casual DFS players are going to feel that way. They're either going to love him or hate him. It's kind of a throwback to like Patrick Reed. A lot of people just won't play Patrick Reed because they don't like him. They don't want to pull for him. So I think that's kind of what you're getting at with Bryson, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll tell you the truth. We've already mentioned these top three, JT and Rom. They kind of can fit in that same category at times too. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Just, it's hard to explain for the guy that doesn't watch much golf out there listening to this, but DeChambeau is very hard to like for a lot of reasons.
I agree.
He does not relate to the normal person in any way. He doesn't relate to the normal golf country club type personality. He doesn't, he gets a steak dinner and a chocolate milk to drink. I mean, that just doesn't, line up to, it doesn't, talking about when he won the US Open, how we're going to celebrate. And that's what he said. He's going to celebrate the big chocolate milk. Not that there's anything wrong with any of that. It's just, it doesn't compute with the normal golf fan,
Right.
Golfers are different than any other fan, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly wired differently, and that's probably helped him. It's probably helped him and hurt him. It's probably helped him as far as the way he thinks outside the box, as far as approaching the game, and we've certainly seen the payoff from that recently. But I think it probably hurts him as far as relating to fans. And other players, and you can argue whether that's even important or not. As far as he cares. He might, maybe he doesn't care, but he sure seems concerned about his brand. We've seen him, yell at photographers on the course. But yeah, I think he's definitely wired a little differently, and it's probably helped him as far as strategy wise on the course. It probably hurts him in other areas. So I totally feel you. You can maybe make the same argument about Rom, even though I don't feel he's that extreme. There's a lot of strong feelings about Rom. A lot of people don't like him, don't like kind of his attitude on the course, some of his behavior, blow-ups, frustrations that come out. But you know what? The guy's a great player, man. Our buddy Nagels, Bagels, he's not a Rom hater. Bagels is a very smart guy. He's just not a big fan of Rom, and I think the why he's not a big fan of Rom is because a lot of people um, started trying to, basically hand Rom majors right when he first started out. But if you look at the guy's record, man, he hadn't won a major yet, but his record's unbelievably impressive for as young as he is. And I think maybe because of his parents or something, we don't think of him as young as he is. But he's played really well at Augusta. And this has been his best major so far. He's playing really solid golf. And I think I personally would probably, even though JT's an amazing player, playing great, his best career finish at Augusta is a T12. That came last year, which he's trending in the right direction there. But I would almost prefer Rom over JT this week, just because it feels like something's coming with him, which the same could be said with JT. I mean, there's really not I don't think there's a bad option, Andrew, above 10 this week. Really above Cantlay and up. I don't feel like there's a bad pick in the bunch. But of those top three guys you mentioned, I would probably lean Bryson and Rom, even though JT's amazing.
Yeah, I think if you look at just tournament history alone, Rom is wiping the floor with those other two guys. Back to his, what the people, the way he is kind of looked at. Not my thing, but one personality conflict I had with Rom was, whenever he was kind of trying to give a lesson to the media after he won at Memorial, how hard it was and how good he played, and trying to explain how good he was and how good that I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, but I'm just a fan, so who really cares? And you're right. I don't. Bryson is concerned with his brand, and man, he got paid last week, multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal. DraftKings. I don't even know if the numbers even came out, but big payday there.
Right.
So enough about the personalities. Let's just get into the DraftKings here. The reason I stopped there, the next three have had major success at Augusta, not winning, and that's why I stopped there. So, are we dipping down to the next three and not playing anybody in the top three? Who knows? This is one tournament a year that I'm not saying you could take recent form, 12 round, 24 round, 36 round. You can't throw those things out the door, but I think they can be discredited to the stance. How many times have you seen a guy playing awesome coming in Augusta and their world gets shattered on Thursday by shooting 83?
Yeah, for sure. And you can even make the opposite argument. How many times have you seen a guy playing horribly and come into Augusta and go out and shoot 68 the first round?
Exactly.
This course just brings out something different in guys. And when we talk about that, it feels appropriate to talk about Rory Mcilroy, a guy that's had this tournament in his grasp before, been in the mix several times, and has never been able to close the door. Needs this tournament for the career Grand Slam. And it feels like in the past several years, there's been a lot of hype before Rory going into the Masters, the week of the Masters. And it feels like this week he's not getting that hype. Feels like, it's kind of I don't want to say a dark horse. Rory McIlroy is never a dark horse, but it feels like Bryson's getting a lot of pub. A lot of people are talking about Brooks after his performance last week, DJ, Rom, JT. So if Rory can go under the radar, he maybe is a little bit here. But that said, the form's not been great. It's been spotty, not horrible. But it goes back to he's played so well here that you almost have to consider him. DJ started his career out slow here, but he's played phenomenally. His last 4 times out at Augusta, had a tie for second last year, and that legendary one that Tiger ended up winning. But I think he's been the best player since the restart. You kind of talked about that earlier, and I think it's been Dustin Johnson. He's got 2 wins, 3 if you want to count the Tour Championship, 2 runner-up finishes. One of those was in the PGA, backdoor to top 10, I believe, at the U.S. Open. And the guy's just been a freight train, man. COVID sidelined him. We thought that might derail him. He kind of runs bad at the Masters. We all remember the fall down the steps, but he fought right back last week. Looked amazing in Houston. Gained over 10 strokes tee to green. So the dude's just on a roll right now, man, on a tear. Unfortunately, DJ seems to come up short a lot in these majors, but he's maybe my favorite play at 10 or above. And then you have Xander, who's just been a beast in these major championships, man. Had his debut at Augusta, didn't go so great. A lot of people's don't. We'll talk about that with some of these other guys in the field, but tied for second last year. So the learning curve was pretty short for Xander, like it always seems to be. And he's just a guy that I'm always going to have exposure to in majors. I always want to get him in my lineups, and that's the case again this week. Like I said, there aren't any bad options up here. What are your thoughts on those three, Rory, DJ, and Xander?
I mean, I love DJ. He's my first guy that when I'm checking off the list whenever I roll down through the salaries. And not only that, it's going to come out on the round table, but it's easily my best bet of the week. He's plus 110 to finish in the top 10. He's almost a guarantee to finish in the top 10 the way he hits the ball here, no matter what the field's like, in my opinion. And he's plus 110. I think he might even be like 2.5 to 1 to finish in the top 5. And really, I think he's even money to finish in the top 5 if I was breaking that down. So I love DJ. He's going to have so many opportunities on par 5s to make eagles. He can reach every one of them. He can reach 2 of them with mid irons. He can reach, he can if it's real warm outside and dry, he can hit about a 5 iron into number 2. Now number 8's it's all uphill. So, but he can still reach it or be within 30 yards of the hole after second shot. So that's a big plus, and he drives it so straight. I know there's not a lot of places to be in trouble here, but whenever you hit it dead straight, there's really not any places to be in trouble. Yeah. So hits it so straight. I mean, people can't even understand how it's straight he hits his driver.
And he's hitting his irons great too. Yeah. I mean, I think he's first in this field in strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. He's either first or second. And it's really unbelievable. So yeah, man, I really love DJ. He kind of always breaks my heart in majors, and maybe that's going to happen again because he can never seem to close the door on the thing. But as far as a DFS play, I'm with you, man. I love him.
Yeah, so that's where I'm starting is DJ. Xander, like you said, is it seems like he's 3 out of 4 majors a year. It seems like he's in the top 5. But I mean, maybe not have a chance to win it all, but he plays well. Brooks is still a question mark for me. I know he played fairly well last weekend. Finished tied for 5th. Had a great back-to-back 65s on the weekend. I don't know, though. I mean, is he healthy? That's the real question, right? I mean, we don't know. We saw him early on in the year. He looked awesome. Then all of a sudden, he just quit playing because he was hurt that we didn't even know. And he said there's some trust issues. Maybe there is. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's one of the more interesting guys to discuss on the slate, man, just because he has flipped that switch so often in majors. And we talk about what a horrible year he's had, but we have to remember he was in the thick of things at the PGA Championship until late. So, obviously didn't get a chance to play the U.S. Open because of that injury, but looked really good in Houston last week. He's played really well at Augusta. We know that he is going to be hungry this week. It's been a horrible year by pretty much every measure for Brooks, but he can make this an awesome year with a win this week, and that has to be running through his mind. He's not liking this Bryson hype. I can guarantee you that. So he's going to come out focused, and I think if he's healthy, which is still a question mark, Andrew, you're right. If he's healthy, though, I think he could be in the mix at the end of this thing, and you have to consider him. Even though you're probably taking a little bit more risk, it feels like with Brooks. So, I mean, I could see him if he comes out, gets off to a sluggish start, or puts a big number up, like say on Saturday or something, just ejecting, kind of like he did at the PGA in the final round. So I mean, I think that possibility's there. He doesn't feel as safe as some of the other guys up here, but you certainly have to like the tournament winning upside that's there with Brooks.
Yes, absolutely. Like you said, he's not a come from behind type of player. It seems he's more of a get him down and put his foot on their throat, kind of personality. Dropping down, Cantlay, Morikawa, Hatton, Simpson, Reed. Let's say Cantlay, Morikawa, Hatton, Simpson. A lot of talent here, but in my opinion, even though Cantlay has played well here in the past, Morikawa is a big name. Webb Simpson's arguably one of the best players in the world, and Patrick Reed is a dominant force at times in majors. This is by far, in my opinion, going to be the most overlooked group of players. And the reason I say that is who's on top of them and who's below them. But I'll go ahead and say my 2 cents. Cantlay, we know he's just coming off a victory, but we haven't seen the Patrick Cantlay of the past that we were used to seeing. Morikawa is the same as even though he won the PGA and he's a great young talent, we still see he's either competing to win the tournament or missing the cut. Hatton, man, he's just a great player, and all of his numbers look great, except for he just struggles with the putter at times and does not hit it very far. And I know this golf course, you don't have to hit it exactly the farthest, but same thing with Webb Simpson. Numbers are great, doesn't hit it very far. Patrick Reed, nobody knows what he's ever going to do. He could literally win any tournament, miss any cut. So
yeah,
we know he's a grinder. But now sandwiched down below them is probably why you have Woods, Watson, Scott, Finau. That is green light special when it comes to Augusta, all 4 of them. Tiger Woods, 5-time champion, coming off a 16-1 victory last year. His odds this year are at 35-1, and in my opinion, aren't high enough because he's played awful since the restart. We're not really sure what's going on there. But somebody has not played awful since the restart. Bubba Watson, right below him at 9,000. I know I've gave you a lot of information there from Cantlay down, but fill in on what I missed in that range, or if you like what I had to say.
I really do like what you had to say, Andrew. I think you're right. I feel like that starting with Cantlay down to Reed. We got a lot of good players there, but it feels noticeably weaker than the top than Cantlay up to me. But that said, like you said, it's a possibility there's the winner in there, and that might shape up for some good GPP plays because of who's above them. All those guys are going to be popular, and who's below them. I really think that kind of 8K range is going to be very popular. So there's guys you can look at in there. Cantlay, we saw win, kind of looked like the Cantlay we'd hoped to see. Played well here last year. Briefly had the lead in the final round here last year. Morikawa, we saw win the PGA. He's a phenomenal talent, a prodigy kind of in the Tiger Woods, Jordan Spieth mold. We saw both those guys win here. But this is his first start at Augusta, which is notoriously tough on first-timers. We kind of touched on the importance of course knowledge here. I kind of want to take a wait-and-see approach with Morikawa, even though I love his game. I love his long-term prospects on this course. His weakness now is kind of putting and chipping, and that's not what you want to be struggling with when you go to Augusta National. Hatton is just playing unbelievable golf, man. Like you said, he's on fire. The form is there. The course history isn't. He's got a missed cut, a T44 and a T56 here, with the T44 being his best career finish at Augusta National. So it has just not clicked for him here yet. Maybe that's different this year. Maybe he's in much better form than he ever has been. Webb, you don't ever feel bad about rostering. We saw him play well here last year. But the length is an issue, man. You almost feel like, especially if this course is going to play long due to being soft, you almost feel like Webb has to do everything so perfect in order to compete because he's just lacking that distance off the tee. Like you said with Reed, man, I can just never peg that guy statistically. I kind of had a gut feel on him at the U.S. Open, and he come out strong before fading. I don't have that gut feeling this week, even though I wouldn't argue with you for rostering him because the guy's just a gamer. Obviously, he's capable. Won here in 2018. But other than that, has not played well here really at Augusta, other than the win. Tiger, you love him, I love him. We both do. We've talked about it. He's the most overpriced player in this field. I just don't know how DraftKings. I mean, I imagine if they price him where he really should be, which is Tiger should probably be priced in the high sevens, really. And if they price him there, I guess his ownership's just going to be through the roof. So, I mean, I guess that's why they got him up here. But he's unbelievably overpriced. I mean, you can have some fun and toss him in a couple lineups or something if you want to pull for him, but there's nothing statistically that points in the direction that he's going to be able to come anywhere close to what he did last year, even though I hope he does and would love to see it. And Bubba, man, is kind of when we get back into the plays that I'll be very seriously considering. Two-time winner here, amazing form, seems to be in a really good headspace right now. His ball striking is amazing. He's second in the field in strokes gained tee to green, second in the field in strokes gained ball striking over the last 24 rounds. The putter just hadn't come around, but he still logged some solid finishes. But he loves this golf course. He's feeling good. He's striking the ball beautifully right now. So the price feels a little bit high. I'm going to keep an eye on ownership. Sometimes we see Bubba up here. People are scared to pull the trigger. So I'll kind of keep an eye on that. And if it looks like he's going to go under-owned, I'll be overweight on Bubba. I really like him. And Tony Finau is maybe the most underpriced player on the board, in my opinion. Tiger's the most overpriced, and Tony's maybe the most underpriced. He's played here 2 times. He's got a T10 and a T5, Andrew. He's a major championship machine. He's long off the tee. He has just been continuously grinding out strong finishes in majors over the last 2-3 years. So tell me what I'm missing. Why is Tony 88 and is all in too much on Finau?
No, I think the main reason he's 88 is because I think it's kind of known, or not kind of known, it's painfully obvious that he has trouble closing the deal. I mean, his odds to win, for the most part, dictate salary price in these events, and those odds are where they got to be, because if you said in a tournament like this, do you think Patrick Cantlay has a better chance of winning than Tony Finau? You guys say absolutely. For whatever reason, it seems like he might have the stomach for it. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
but like
and that's
I said,
fair. I mean, that's fair to say. And I'm one of Tony's biggest supporters as far as just being a fan. Not anything from a DFS perspective, but I just like the guy and pull for him and want to see him do well. And I would agree with that, man. He's not been closing the door. You have to question if he can win. But at 8,800, are we not satisfied with the T6 or something at 8,800?
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I think the same can be said to a lesser extent about Hideki Matsuyama. The guy is he and Tony are kind of the same guy, right? They're just super consistent, but don't win. I mean, Hideki's won some tournaments. I think his last one came in 2017 at the Bridgestone. We've seen him win in Phoenix a couple times, and there's more, but he just consistently knocks out good finishes. Looked really good at Houston last week, which is encouraging. And he's always played well at Augusta. So, I mean, I feel that's a really strong range right in there. Hideki, Tony, Bubba. You can build a pretty nice core right there. I have no interest in Fleetwood. I feel like he's overpriced as well. The form just isn't there. Normally a guy we can always count on, but has not played well at all. So I won't have any Fleetwood. Wolf is interesting just because he's so talented, and we've seen him play well in the majors at the PGA and the U.S. Open, runner-up at the U.S. Open. But you're concerned about it being his first time here, and you're also concerned about his volatility. We see him finish almost dead last at the Zozo and the CJ Cup when we were kind of high on his prospects. So he's tough to trust. He's volatile, but we have to love his length off the tee here. We have to love his scoring ability here. So he's not a guy that I would bet the farm on, but definitely not a bad guy to get some GPP exposure to. And then, man, we're coming into Andrew territory. I'm gonna let you take it right there, baby.
Okay, there we go.
8,400. It's murderer's row down there. So you just go ahead, big guy.
Okay, you start at 8,400. You go all the way down to 70. I'm going to drop it down to 70. Let's drop it all the way down to 7,500. It is the who's who of vets. We got Ghosts of Christmas Past, Jason Day, followed up by Jordan Spieth. I don't even know what to do here. You got to have exposure with Jordan Spieth at Augusta every time he teases. Every time. I've seen the guy hit literally 6 greens and shoot 6 under on this golf course. So, Joe's about to vomit right now. Me even saying that. I'm gonna be fading.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's the sick thing. Like Jason Day. I mean, it's like I thought I was out and they pulled me back in. J Day last week at Houston. It's got me pulled back in. I'm on board this week. And Spieth, you're exactly right. His price is absolutely gross. He should be 7,200. But I'm still gonna have him in some lineups at 8,200 because, like you said, it's unbelievable what he's able to do here.
Absolutely. So, Jason Day, I'm fading him, and I'll tell you why. We didn't realize how inconsistent his game was probably till the last couple of years. He drove the ball so much further than everybody did and putted so great for several years in a row, and really, I think talent has just caught up to him, in my opinion. Like I said, you got to have exposure to Spieth. Fowler, it just doesn't seem like since the quarantine and got married, maybe his priorities have changed. And that's not a knock on him as a golfer or as a person. It's just, let's just be honest, kind of lose that edge and a competitive edge. It just doesn't seem like maybe he's got that. Maybe it might have been an overrated player to begin with from the standpoint of lack of winning, but he was obviously competitive just from his game, overall game, talent-wise. Paul Casey, I cannot get on board with Paul Casey. Normally I'm shoving all my chips in on Paul Casey, but I don't know if it's an age factor or what, but consistency has not been his thing. I'll tell you somebody I am pushing some chips in on, though. That's Louis Oosthuizen. I don't know. Handful of top 10s here, 2 second-place finishes here, lost in the playoff to Bubba, drives it straight, streaky with the putter, hits his irons great. After that, I'll tell you the truth, I'm not liking anybody, and this is going to suck me saying this out loud. Matt Fitzpatrick's top 5 in almost everything across the board the last 12 rounds statistically. And he's played well here in the past and doesn't hit the ball extremely far. Actually has not putted that great this year and has still played well.
Yeah, his iron play has been much improved as of late. And that's kind of an interesting thing about Fitzpatrick. I rarely play him because he relies so much on the putter. But like you said, man, he's actually not putted great this year. And his irons are what's doing it. Just to circle back up, I love your call on Louis. Really like him. You and I have talked about him a lot since the restart. I've rostered him a lot. I loved him at the U.S. Open, and I like him a lot again here. Unfortunately, his worst start as of late was his most recent one, which is just a tiny bit concerning. But the guy's a gamer. He's a veteran, and I like where he's at. And to circle back around, like you said, on these vets, man, like this slate is this salary scale is really weird. Like we've got guys that we might want to play, but have very little, if any, course experience at Augusta National. I mean, you look at a guy like Scotty Scheffler. Of course, we've had the whole COVID thing, but you think his game fits this golf course perfectly, but he doesn't have any experience here. And then you got a guy like Paul Casey or a guy like Ricky Fowler, who are, if we're being nice, they're in less than great form, but their course history is amazing, and we know that course history matters here. So it's kind of a tough decision between, do we go with a Matthew Wolff, who we feel like's really talented and has a ton of upside, but has never seen this course? Or do we go with a guy like Jason Day, who's never missed a cut at the Masters? I feel like those are tough decisions we're facing this week. I'm like you. It starts running out for me. Justin Rose is another one of those guys in the Paul Casey, Ricky Fowler vein that has a great course history and has played really well, but the current form just isn't there. He's shown just enough to maybe be a little bit interested in him, but if anything, just a tiny bit of exposure in GPPs or something. I like the Fitz call. And then we get down into these guys like Sung J M, Abraham Answer, guys that are on a weekly basis or guys that we'll definitely consider rostering. But do we go to them here when they've never made a start at Augusta National and not in the greatest of form? Answer's in a little bit better form than M. And M's trying to come back around, but still just not there. They're guys that can play well, but guys that I'm not going to go out of my way to roster. Woodland's been hurt, never played well at Augusta anyway. And then a guy I'm really interested in, you might be sick of me talking about him, Andrew, is Cameron Smith. You got any thoughts on him? I love how his irons are coming along. That's kind of always the weak point of his game, and they've been firing. Had a T4 at the Zozo his last time out, and we've been riding him, man, for like a month. So talk to me about Cam Smith. You looked at him at all?
I love Cam Smith. He's an ultimate grinder, little bitty dude, puts it good, plays well.
Had a T5 here 2 years ago.
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, he has played well. If you look statistically, you got to love him, or you got at least his history, and maybe not statistically all from top to bottom. But I'll be honest, this 74 down, as much as I love Answer. And even Kisner at times, and I've been all over Todd in the fall. And probably my favorite player on tour, Mark Leishman, is still in this from about 74 to about 69. I'm basically washing my hands with it. Even though there's a lot of talent, it might be a top 5 or top 10 in that range. But for me, personally, I can't get on board with the inconsistency, I guess is the right term. I mean, Lee West will probably finish second in this tournament for all I know.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring up Lee Westwood just as a guy you can give a look to. Had some really strong finishes over in Europe, played well in the U.S. Open, has obviously played well here throughout his career. I would much rather go with him than like a Matt Kuchar, a guy that we've seen to just play for have on auto play in the Masters for like the last 5 years. I know you and I both have felt that way, but I'm off this year. Would rather go with Westwood. Yeah, I'll definitely have a ton of Cam Smith. That's going to be my go-to guy down there. And then, like you said, man, Kisner and Todd, you just worry about the length. Kisner, you feel like he's going to grind it out, but you kind of think like a T25, T20 might be his ceiling in this type of event and on this layout. Todd's got to make every putt he looks at. That horseshoe's kind of fell out a little bit here lately. Kokrak, I love the fit, but he's making his Masters debut, which is kind of hard to believe. We've had a ton of luck with him. He won at CJ Cut for us. But I'm scared of both his touch around the green and the fact that he's making his Masters debut. But, I mean, I think you can grab some GPP exposure there. Ian Poulter is very interesting to me. The dude grades out horribly in everything always, and it makes no sense. But he always comes to play here. I think he's only missed one cut in all of his Masters appearances. Played really well last year, and he's been playing well as of late. So Ian Poulter's kind of an exception to the rule down there that I'm willing to gamble with. EVR always burns me, but he's looked better. Then you get down into like you said, man, Zach Johnson I was kind of interested in, but if this course is going to be playing long because it's soft, I'm a little scared of Zach, even though he's been playing better. Sebastian Munoz feels underpriced. I mean, there's a lot of reasons you shouldn't play him this week, but at 6,700, I'm willing to take a shot in GPPs and some stars and scrubs build. What about Molinari, man? Is his soul back?
Yeah,
He
I
looked
mean, what he
he looked
finished?
okay. He looked okay in Houston last week.
I think what he finished like 12th, 13th last week.
Something like that. Yeah, like maybe a T15 or something.
Yeah, I think he shot 500 last day.
Yeah.
I'm green lighting Molinari. There's 4 guys down here that have caught my eye, and I say 4, maybe 5. I got a Brent Snedeker has played well over the last 3 tournaments. Let me get a tournament history on him real quick. We know he's had success here in the past. I shot 76 in the 3rd round last week, but he was actually kind of up on the leaderboard. Finished tied 44th. His approach is what I meant by has been trending up. I think he's top 10 approach over the last 12 rounds. So we want to give him some exposure. I normally would be all over Stinson. I just don't know what's going on right there. And honestly, his overall tournament history here has been very bad, honestly. Even though he's made a lot of cuts, he's had a lot of tied, like top, like maybe 35th, 38th. And what seemed like he was in there, but it's because he was at one point. In those last 5 years, it seemed like he's been in the top 5 and then blew up, had a big round. And so I don't know what I'm going to be off him this week. Sebastian Munoz is a green light for me as well, along with Lanto Griffin. Man, he's
Yeah,
played.
I like Lanto. Yeah.
He's played great. And there's going to be a guy down here I hate to even say, but I mean he's got the games, and that's Charles Howell III. He's very
Yeah, I think
consistent.
he's like from Augusta or something.
Yeah, he is.
Like
He's from
everybody
Augusta.
always makes a big deal about that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure he's super familiar with the course.
yeah. And I don't even know where he ranks as far as tournament. Oh, he's only played one time in the last 5 years here.
Yeah,
World
seems
ranking.
like he's never in there, and he hasn't played well when he is.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. Below Sebastian Munoz, Molinari, and Lanto, there's not a ton that I love. Corey Connors, the ball striking pops out, but I mean the touch around the greens just is not there, and that's not gonna work this week. Stinson, like you said, man, I kind of view Colin Morikawa kind of like Stinson, even though I know they're different players. But my concerns with Morikawa are kind of like with Stinson at Augusta. He's not the longest guy, long enough, but not super long. Unbelievable iron player, but struggles on and around the greens, and that's my concern with Morikawa, and that's kind of been Stinson's issue at Augusta through the years. I feel like. But yeah, man, dropping them below that. I'm not going to be going down there this week, Andrew. I would maybe just throw one wild card out, Justin Harding at 6,300. South African played well here last year. Really inconsistent, really volatile, but he's got some upside when he gets going. Made a couple cuts in his last 2 starts. So that's kind of the only dart throw I would throw out down there. I'll be going like Lanto and up. Like Lanto and up to Cam Smith at 73. A little bit of Fitz, and then up to Louis and going from there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at Harding myself. Tied 12th last year. Got a lot of upside with him.
Just a darty dart throw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you as far as Lanto and up, and maybe we're going, down there, we're going to be at Lanto, Molinari at 67, maybe Sebastian Munoz at 67. Like you said, Ian Poulter about 7,000. Other than that, you've got just wildly inconsistent play up into the high 7s.
Yeah. It's tough, man, because you love all the plays like can't lay up, like 10K up. You love all those guys. You don't feel bad about any of those guys. But there's not a ton down here like we see in some majors. Obviously, this is a smaller field, and we got a bunch of former champions down at the bottom. But there's not just a ton of love. There's guys you can play, but there's not many all-in guys down here that you feel comfortable making a core piece. It's almost like find your favorite guys up towards the top in the 8s. and then mix and match these guys to try to fill out your rosters if you're making multiple lineups. I will say I was just looking, Kokrak 7K, and he's 8th in the field in strokes gained tee to green.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's hit the ball well the last 2 months, really. That's always been his plus, it's just, as well as I do, stand over a 4-footer on 18 to make the cut. I'll be throwing up in the bathroom watching that.
Oh, yeah, and especially on the Augusta greens. The only thing would be if they are going to be a little bit slower, which they've got those vacuums under there. They can manipulate them however they want to. So you could see the fairways being slow, but the greens still being super fast, which just kind of puts you down the distance track, man. Which Kokrak fits, but it's just tough because a lot of these guys in great form are making their maybe their first start or don't have great records in the Masters, and the guys with great course history are in bad form. So you kind of just got to pick your poison there. I mean, you go with a Paul Casey or Louis Oosthuizen. I wouldn't put Louis in that category. I would say, Ricky and Paul Casey. They're kind of great course history, bad form. And then you got a guy like Matthew Wolff or Scotty Scheffler. Guys are super talented with upside. So which way do you go on those? Normally, I think it's a no-brainer. You go with the younger, higher upside guys, but because we're building these rosters with first place in mind. But Augusta is one of those weird places where, course history matters, sometimes more than recent form.
Absolutely, yeah. I believe that with this one, course history, veteran, that's what you see most of here than anything. I mean, you'll look on Sunday at like 3:30, and 8 out of 10 guys are vets. Maybe 9 out of 10. So,
and there's going to be some guy in the top 10 that absolutely blows your mind. That's what kind of makes you look at like a Munoz, like a, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like a Munoz, an EVR, somebody like that. Somebody you don't expect is going to be there in the mix on Sunday.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I'm excited.
Me too, man. It's just so interesting. I'm sure we've been going forever, but it's just so interesting to really dig into this stuff on a big slate like this, a big event. But yeah, man, I'm super pumped. Can't wait. Who's going to win, Andrew? Who's your pick to win? We don't ever do this. Who's your pick to win?
Man, oh man, let me pull the odds up so I can give a good number on it.
Go with your heart, man. Go with your heart. Who's your heart tell you?
I mean, I really think DJ's probably gonna win this year.
That's what my heart says too, man. My heart says DJ or Finau, and
it ain't gonna be Finau.
I know. I know. I'm just talking about from the heart.
Yeah.
My heart says DJ, but my brain says Bryson DeChambeau.
No, I'm not on the Bryson train as far as here. There's so many other increments. I know that.
I'm trying to take emotion out of it. I think Bryson.
Well, I know I talked about emotion for the first 10 minutes of this on Bryson, but in all reality, I mean, we've seen the dude with a 7, he's got wedge from 43 yards, and his pitch wedge is 42 inches long, or whatever, 38 and a half inches long. And I think that he needs to rethink maybe the 9-iron down plan and take the mechanics out of it.
I've said that before, and I think Josh Bennett, one of the writers at Rotoballer, he kind of disagreed with me, but I don't have any statistical whatever behind it, but it just seems like it just seems like you have so much more feel with standard size, at least wedges.
Yeah. So, we've seen that over and over where, obviously he's hitting closer than anybody, but his strokes gained approach is like mid-50s.
Yeah, he's by no means a lock, man, but
yeah,
it's going to just depend on how he's hitting his driver.
Yeah, I agree.
If he's bombing that thing out there, and
this is different than this is different from the Open from the standpoint that we talked about that the fairways are so narrow it didn't matter. how narrow they were, or it didn't no matter how long they were, it was going to be a negative, so why not just go ahead and hit driver and get as far up the way as you could. Here it's more of a wide open. And I just seen Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson can get hot with the putter for a short period of time in this tournament. He can win. He will win.
I hope so. I'd like to see DJ win.
Let's keep him off the steps too. Let's keep him off the steps.
Yeah. Let's put him in bubble wrap and keep him away from any kind of powdered goodies for the next 3 days. We're ready to roll.
Absolutely. So my name is Andrew Putters. That's Joe Nicely. And you have listened to the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. Like what you hear, hit a like, subscribe, share it with your friends. We've got Augusta just a few days out, and we are excited. So it's everything we got for you, folks. We'll talk to you later.
That was my first big mistake. I've already hit 3 in the lake. It's gonna drive me. It's